This is the mindness of the mystery font. This is the mindness of the mystery font. This is the mindness of the mystery font. Hello. Hello, welcome. This is the kind prehension. This is This is it's radio, science, brain. Good goshy. Science brain. Came yesterday, elevation this activate radio science break, radio science brain, radio science break. Imagination became the open stake to claim. Stakes are prey or predator or play, not be prey. Today remain. Creatures, creation awake. Radio science brain, radio science brain, liaise. How you aim to make particle matter wave, now like there's things to save. Germane activation must come claim the day. You are the radiation. radiation. You are the radiation. You are the radiation. Awaken everyone. You are the renovation of this whole occupation. I've seen the truth awaken. I've followed the science. I know we're combined in an abusive relationship. Together, it's not normal that a relationship tessellates hate and pain across all human freight. We are the mindless made this container from pain. Radio science brain liaise activation came to play today. Mind made be germane. Radio science brain. The comprehension takes your fleet foot feet. We are following geniuses like you, and your deeds can tanker us, agent of change. You are the radiation. You are the radiation. You are the radiation. You are the radiation. You are the radiation of love's imagination. You are the radiation. 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 You are the radiation of love's imagination. This is the dream awake. Be named by your creature's aim. You are candidate to what you want to have become. Became today. Became some way. Radio science brain mind made this contain this contagious aid. Might may be germane. Radio science brain. Particle matter wave. Particle matter wave. This is the kindness clarion page by page chronicle. You phase with this Intuit list. List camlet to this. From a camera obscura, I shine light from inside to out like my own. Like your own beacon known. How I glow, we all glow by the golden door. This copious flow. Imagination knows scholarly lions grow. Radio science, brain, imagination, aim, come, came to play. Scoop, troop, have this in mind. Darvo may help you find. Darvo users have that Darvo card in your bruisers, or your packs, or your carry-all under your parasol. Under your parasol, there in your carry-all, your Darvo card, and call those tools up when you need them. Scoop troop, scoop troop, you're the new nuts group, new under the sun crew. Contusions could lose this, but no, you're the new under the suns. Become daughters and sons and siblings who know their one vision. The shift of paradigm comes when we open that conduit, placed from vision to vision, might maybe germane. Brain awake, brain awake. This is a meditation relay. We come to play. Radio science brain, we may be germane. Radio science braid from my brain, bay now undelayed. This is the mindless made, this I want to play. I might be prey to predator, I might now play. Please be play today. The fascists come with canes that are weapons to make entropy and decay. Do not be prey to predator today. Activate curiosity, activate calm that helps executive function. See and be free, calm and self-regulate your constitution. You are the germane radio science brain. This is the mindness at the mystery font. Ah. Oh. 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 Is that how I come in? Good evening, good morning, good day. Wow! This sure is some comprehension. Good evening, good morning, good day. Sound for sneeze. And you're back in the room. Good morning from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Do you know that I am following your genius? There is part of us liaised. Morphic resonance allows gateways. Morphic resonance might even allow the collected sentient, the sentience that is all of us, those who think of ourselves as having a personal stake, an ownership of, or a belonging to America, the mind of American democracy, it really may include the whole planet. For sure, the people who call America home, whether colonized or colonizer, or ancestors of, we are yet to process our apartheid. Our American apartheid has yet to be processed. What the mother falcon crest exactly, please? And could it be that this is indeed the mystery font? Am I? I am here. I am here at the mystery font. 42. Golly! That's quite something, actually. And it's Tim Cameron, a host of the font. January 3rd. It's 2023, and not 1 year ago in 2022, or 2 years ago in 2021, just slightly more than 2 years ago, at the end of the year, near the end of the year, there was an election. And on November 3rd, we started to hear that Donald Trump said there was proof that, well, a threat that had been waged and leveraged and leveled at us multiple times became act, in that he had warned us or threatened us that he would let us know at the time whether he would honor a peaceful transition of power, that he had told us before the first time he was elected president, the only time he will ever be elected president. He told us he would keep us in suspense. Do you recall this? Does this ring a bell? Does it ring a bell of the sense of having your bell rung? What in the world could make us forget the shocking boundary violation of a presidential candidate telling us on national television that he would keep us in suspense? The only thing that can wash that away quickly would be another different, shocking boundary violation. And with degrading comment after display of dominance and grotesque putrescence, followed by another shocking boundary violation, and then a far worse shocking boundary violation, and then a shocking boundary violation that seems to put his son over a barrel and spank him in front of millions. That the shocking, degrading boundary violations of Donald Trump echo Hitler's Sudetenland moment, and Trump is ever appeased. Trump, who lied about knowing anything about Hitler, who is said to have kept quotes of Hitler by his bedside. This pathological liar, Donald Trump, indeed is fascinated with hypnosis, and for long, dark decades has been obsessed with the creation of illusions. And just like the first confidence artist, the first one called a confidence artist or confidence trickster, he asks us for a watch that he says he will return. But the watch he's asking for is not just a timepiece that is essentially like a pedestrian's car, that is essentially your schedule and your mechanism for knowing where and when and what you are, in some sense, that it is connection to the world and the schedule of time. And if you did need to get to a meeting, you'd want to have it. Such that a savvy New Yorker in the 1800s was able to leverage a sense of confidence and shared savvy cosmopolitan splendor, and a sense of a bright, beautiful world with people of responsible, professional, metropolitan dignity. And good gracious, these cosmopolites once in a while must make a mistake. In fact, that reminds me, I have a terribly important appointment tomorrow, and my watch is broken, you see. Would you have the confidence in me to lend me your watch until tomorrow? And need is sacred, and we want to help each other. Donald echoes that con artist by telling us he will take our watch and give it back if and when he ever feels like it. He said it before and then did it. And it's good to not let a charged offender's repeated statements that his prosecutions are unprecedented, to let those repeated statements mute the clear fact that the unprecedented nature of his alleged crimes, which many of them saw committed, are not all even, the peaks of those are not even all registered in the crimes he's been committed, that he's been charged with so far. Some of his worst crimes have still not been met with any charges whatsoever. Let's not lose track of who and what we are dealing with. With every instance of a MAGA adherent talking, we need to understand we're dealing with traitors. We're dealing with saboteurs. The nation is not at war, but MAGA is at war. They have been there, and Moms for Liberty and those neo-Nazis who have nearly brought The Handmaid's Tale to come pass is a neo-Nazi, Ku Klux Klan, white nationalist, modern, Hitler-esque movement, period. We need to see Project 2025 coming even though it has been placed in our sight like the light of a train, telling us it's coming or else. We must see it even though it dares us to see it. We must find executive function that has been robbed of us by terrorists like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Alex Jones, Tucker Carlson, Donald Trump, and Greg Abbott, and Sarah Huckabee Sanders, and Ron DeSantis, among others. Elon Musk may be could top the list, but it seems clear that the purveyor of the falsehood, nearest to the actual true villain, known for centuries as the falsehood, who seems to be reincarnated, or maybe to regenerate, or to maybe new people take up the mantle of the falsehood. We don't really know, but sometimes images and spectral renderings happen. Sometimes even things nearer to a photograph have been cast of that whom they which we decide may or may not be, but could be the falsehood. These resonances are terrifying to perceive because they look somewhat inside out. Not negative exactly, but a clear signal that there is something to gnosis that knows us. There is a connection between us in a bandwidth of meaning in which we don't really see everything. We see some things that mean a lot, that we may disagree about the meaning of, but those things that glow or swell or torporate based on meaning show themselves. At least a fragment or part or smidgen enough to smudge in a meaning and answer some nifty question that we didn't realize we would be coming to reckon with. In the bandwidth of meaning, executive function is paired. It's easier to enter this bandwidth the calmer or more self-regulated, more modulated, able to modulate and self-regulate one is. To see into this bandwidth is birthright. We are all connected to this. And the more we might find the help of meditation and other ways of calming that involve some amount of skill building, whether mind over matter or simply mind, we can perceive more deeply the bandwidth of shared meaning that lets us know how to be awake enough that we might love our neighbor as we love ourselves. After all, it is the finding of the mystery font. These are important findings to share, that wokeness is loving your neighbor as you love yourself. There may be no more direct translation of it. That to be woke is awareness of and for human kindness and dignity. It's a good thing to be. Political conscience fosters human family. Someone please catch Bill Maher up. Please let him know his grift of multiple years, has it been decades, of parking on a playground bully level conversation about human kindness that had the far right grifters of the day focusing on, once again, just difficulty hearing reproach, which is part of free speech. But that people coming to the table with ideas that they wanted to share about change would be met with an idea, a shaming idea of political correctness, that there was a cracking down on free thinking by engaging in reproach and having ideas about beliefs. And anything can be done badly or well, but some things are just bad things. And Bill Maher is making millions or whatever he made off of parking a conversation that has harmed human family is truly reprehensible. And he's been parked there like the Kmart on Nicollet Mall that has finally been leveled. The Kmart that has blocked the major Minneapolitan artery of Nicollet Avenue. Finally, a flat surface that soon will once again have the thoroughfare of Nicollet go through. How dare you, Bill Maher? Day after day after day, park your ass on top of a conversation about political conscience by minimizing it and shaming it and degrading it to be, apparently by selfish people, just trying to tell one another, I'm right. How dare you, scoundrel and bilker, cheesy hack, trying to be Bogart, trying to be Carlin, trying to be, I don't know, I think just the successful grift. And the champion cheer. Way to go. What exactly and where did you go? Where have we gone in this conversation, Mr. Maher? What new rules have you brought us? That we're supposed to pay attention to a Nazi billionaire trying to destroy the mission of Christ? You cheap hack. What exactly is real time? When we're waging war on human kindness and calling it a mind virus? What exactly are the new rules if a billionaire who tells us that having boundaries about things like the Holocaust is humanity having not boundaries of steel, but trying to coerce a little Lord Fauntleroy into emotional blackmail? This is the future? Are you and Russell Brand and Elon and Alex Jones going to just get a room? What the actual Mother Falcon Crest happened to the world that Mr. Rogers participated in? Because parking the idea of a conversation about right and wrong on political correctness is nonsense. That's a Hugh Hefner level conversation. That is absolute poppycock. Period. Moving on. I apparently had some things to release there. You know, it's really pretty gross to deal with overwhelming issues in that frame where someone that you're trusting to administer something that is apparently related to an amenity, you know, a technology of communication, where there once was a freedom, or pardon, where there once was a fairness doctrine. Why did we need a fairness doctrine? And why did anyone decide that we no longer needed a fairness doctrine? Yesterday on the Mystery Font, on one of the episodes, we looked at Ronald Reagan, and truly a fairly diabolical figure in terms of some reprehensible acts. And whether or not I agree with everything that he did, which I don't, I mean, I think he's potentially more than other presidents responsible for the collapse of the middle class from a place where my parents could buy a house with one income to a place where 3 jobs can't rent a place. That has been literally just stolen by the people who are telling us that a redistribution of wealth was evil while conducting one away from the American people. And during the last 15 or 20 years of that, it seems Bill Maher has been just a guard. So it's not to single anyone out, although it also is to mention someone who has singled themselves out. Yes, you were just making a living, and that's all you were doing. You parked the conversation for your benefit. You may think that that's correct, but I'm not sure that you have a conscience. At any rate, it is the findings of the Mystery Font that wokeness is a good thing. And in fact, that it is a direct allegory for ideas in the spectrum of love your neighbor as you love yourself. Well, 42 minutes. Let's check in with another view of just what in the rootin' tootin' clarion pollutin', what in the hokum structure, what in the hocus pocus mother falcon spectre, what can we put together about just who is? The falsehood. You are in an abusive relationship. Shocking boundary violations are one common grooming tactic of a narcissist or dark triad personality. If someone in your life points into a camera knowing you'll be looking at the view screen and pulls their finger like a trigger, looking into your eyes, saying, I could shoot someone in the street and not lose anyone, it is a good indicator of a bad situation. You are in an abusive relationship. Who has leveraged and climbed upon a fog of falsehood? Who has donned the falsehood? Who is the falsehood? You are in an abusive relationship. Shocking boundary violations are one common grooming tactic of a narcissist or dark triad personality. If someone in your life points into a camera knowing you'll be looking at the view screen and pulls their finger like a trigger, looking into your eyes, saying, I could shoot someone in the street and not lose anyone, it is a good indicator of a bad situation. You are in an abusive relationship. Who has leveraged and climbed upon a fog of falsehood? Who has donned the falsehood? Who is the falsehood? This is this doesn't seem very good.
The falsehood will tell you intuition's faulty. The falsehood will tell you facts aren't factual actually. The falsehood will tell you intuition's faulty. The falsehood
having a good relationship with Russia is a good thing, not a bad thing.
You said you have no investments in Russia, but do you owe any money to Russian individuals and institutions?
No.
None.
The primary thing I did with Russia, I bought a house in Palm Beach at a bankruptcy. It was a bankrupt, person. I bought it from the banks. I bought it for about $40 million. I sold it for $100 million to a Russian. That was probably 5 years ago, and that was primarily it.
You partnered
Now,
with
will I
Russians on the
sell?
Soho Grand? the
Will I
Toronto-
sell? Oh, many years ago. I don't think they're Russian. I think there were other people, but there were various partners. Will I sell condos to Russians on occasion? Probably. I mean, I do that. I have a lot of condos. I do that. But I have no relationship to Russia whatsoever.
No debts.
No debts. I have very little debt to anybody. I don't need debt. You know, it's very interesting. I'm so liquid, I don't need debt. And if I need debt, if I want debt, I can get it from banks in New York City very easily.
You know where I'm going to take this next. Americans could be assured on that if they saw your tax returns.
My tax returns are very simple. They're under a minor audit, routine audit, as they have been for many years. Every year I get audited. Now, I don't know if you get audited, but I have friends
I've
that are
been
very
audited.
wealthy that never have been audited. I say, do you get audited? I get audited every year. I'm under a routine audit, like routine, and I have been for years, every year.
But there are
If
several
it's
years
finished,
that are no longer
George,
under
here's
that
very
audit.
simple. Yeah, but they're all linked. It's called the link. It's very simple. If my audit's finished, that's great. Now, I have to tell you, I watched Mitt Romney 4 years ago. He waited till September to give him, just before the election. They made him look so bad. It was so unfair. I actually think he didn't lose because of the 47%. I think he lost because of a couple of really minor items in a tax return where he did nothing wrong. So it is unfair. But I will say, when I'm finished with the audit, I'll do it. And if
Richard
that's
Nixon
before the
released his,
election,
even though his were under audit.
don't use Richard Nixon as necessarily the guide, okay? I mean, you know, it's an interesting person to use, but don't use it. And having a good relationship with Russia is a good thing, not a bad thing.
You said you have no investments in Russia, but do you owe any money to Russian individuals and institutions?
No.
None.
Can these faces, these squiggles in the wall, can they indeed hold all of the faces of America? I think they do, and I think I see Trump's face too. I think I see Trump's face in the red and the white. Maybe not in the blue, but I see Trump's eyes peeking out at you, and at me too. Do you recall it is very interesting what we're about to share, what we're about to watch. It is rather insane, in fact. There was a day, And the day, I believe, was November 5th, 2020. On November 5th, 2020, we had another disgusting display. Why did this have to happen this way? It's difficult to say. Why in the world would the President of the United States behave reprehensibly? Well, if we wanted to know the answer to that question, we could have asked Donald Trump 8 years ago, and we could have, in fact, just kept him from ever running as someone who should never be allowed into the room by the Secret Service where the president would be at any time, and such would be not qualified to run. But November 5th, 2020, we saw something rather grotesque. And yes, we had become somewhat used to shocking boundary violations. But that really need not be the end of the story, right? Do we allow ourselves to be shocked like that? Do we allow someone to harm us? Why would we let that be? Why would we ever allow someone to make us to coerce us? Why a nation built on an idea of a chance to do our own thing, to pursue our own happiness? Why in the world would we opt to destroy democracy because some of us think we've found our tyrant? Isn't that absolutely giving up on democracy? November 5th, 2020. This is going back in time a bit, and we're going to spend a moment here in this rather disgusting moment to see the reaction that we would hope someone would have if they hadn't had too many shocking boundary violations to feel anything anymore. But we see some people with genuine reactions that seem to denote these folks haven't given up yet. Have we given up?
We have never seen really, other than, well, I don't think we've ever seen anything like this from a president of the United States. And I think, as Jake said, it's sad and it is truly pathetic. And of course it is dangerous, and of course it will go to courts. But you'll notice the president did not have any evidence presented at all. Nothing. No real, actual evidence of any kind of fraud. Talked about people putting up papers in windows. He talked about things that he'd seen on the internet. That is the president of the United States. That is the most powerful person in the world. And we see him like an obese turtle on his back, flailing in the hot sun, realizing his time is over. but he just hasn't accepted it, and he wants to take everybody down with him, including this country. Gloria?
You know, I think that the world is watching, and they're watching an American president undermine democracy in the United States. It's painful to those of us who love America. It is painful and dangerous what he's doing. It is not surprising, of course, because he told us early on that if he didn't win, he was going to say the election was rigged, and maybe we didn't believe he would come out and do it in this way. But it is still startling to us to just hear the president from a podium in the White House undermine democracy. And as Jake was saying before, I have to keep saying, if this was such a big plot by Democrats, why didn't they do better? Why didn't they do better in the House? Why didn't they do better in the Senate? So the president makes himself the ultimate victim here. Over and over again, it's about him. And it's not about the fact that the other Republicans did okay. It's about him, and his family is complaining. Why isn't everybody coming out and defending him? Why isn't Lindsey Graham coming out and defending him? Because a lot of Republicans, it is time for them to say enough is enough.
Rick Santorum?
No Republican elected official is going to stand behind that statement. I mean, none of them will. They will stand behind elements of that statement. They will stand behind his comment about the polling and how you could make the argument that it was suppression and dishonest. I mean, you can stand behind the lack of transparency when it came to allowing the votes to be counted. There's evidence of that, and he provided some evidence for that. There are certain things they will stand behind in that statement because they reflect the reality. But much of that statement was not factual and was at times incendiary and not something that President of the United States should say or any elected official should say.
You said
unless you have evidence to prove it. And at this point in time, we don't, and we won't until there is an investigation as to what happened. And I got to tell you, I sat there and I listened to him talking about the votes being taken away from him, and then he shifted to Arizona and said, hey, I win this thing if they count the votes. Well, how can you say, well, we have to wait and count the votes in Arizona and I can win this thing? We're making it. But if you count the votes in Philadelphia, you're stealing them. The reality is in Pennsylvania, Democrats voted by mail and Republicans voted by in person. And it's because you asked them to do so. And so I think most people, hopefully, I just encourage people to listen, because I know there's a lot of people who think this election is stolen. A lot of people think there is fraud. And you know what? There may be fraud. There may be we don't know that right now. And for the president to go out there and claim that without any evidence of that is dangerous. And I just would say to the president, there may be some validity in some of the things that you believe, but to go out there and suggest that this is rigged or that counting votes in my home state by clerks all over 67 counties, and as you kept losing votes, was somehow rigged? No, Democrats voted by mail. That's why your lead went away. Had they voted in person, you would be in the same position we are right now. So, it's just it's very disappointing.
I think
and shocking at times to hear the president say the things that he said, and I'm hopeful that that Republicans will stand up at this moment and say what needs to be said about the integrity of our election. Be tough, fight. I want him to fight. I want him to make sure that this election was held fairly, but I don't want him to draw these conclusions when he doesn't have the evidence to back it up.
Well, I just want to thank you for what you just said. First of all, it's not an easy thing to say, given the polarity in the country. But I just want to just say, as a dad, as an American, as a Democrat, as a human being, I appreciate you saying that. And I hope that other Republicans will also stand with you. You're right. You've been out all night. There are some things that you guys don't like, and you want to fight on those narrow issues. But to have the President of the United States take that position that he took, I think is very dangerous. But it's comforting to me that our system is holding. People are still counting these votes. We're still moving forward, and I just want to say I appreciate you saying that.
The governor of Georgia is going to count these votes. The governor of Arizona is going to count these votes. I mean, they're Republican governors.
Yeah.
As is the Secretary of State in Georgia, I believe.
Yeah, and the Secretary of State. So, look,
So what do other Republicans do? And what does a Mitch McConnell come out and say? What does...
Mitch McConnell's going to say what Mitch McConnell said today. We're going to count the votes. And that's what every Republican is going to say. The votes in Pennsylvania need to be counted. People voted. You have to count their votes. And if there are instances in which we find some sort of fraud or some sort of
Shenanigans or whatever.
shenanigans that are being played, you investigate them, you get to the bottom of them, and if they're substantial, I mean, there's this claim running out there that there's 130,000 votes, and the president referred to it, that came out of nowhere in Michigan. Okay, if that's true, prove it. Right. Go out there and find where, find it and do it. And if it's true, then you got a serious problem, and then we attack it. But counting absentee ballots and counting mail-in ballots is not fraud.
Especially
Well, let's be clear. The president believes that an election is fraudulent when he does not win. That is what he believes. Before the election in 2016, when he thought he wasn't going to win, he predicted that the election would be rigged, that the election was fraudulent. When he didn't win the popular vote, he contended that the 3 million votes that he lost by were fraudulent votes, and he impaneled a commission, a government commission, to find those votes, and they never could. So really this is incredibly disturbing, but it's not surprising. This is who he is. I have big differences with Donald Trump over policy and, the same differences that I probably have with you over some of these policies. But what we've learned is how much our democracy relies on people of goodwill in high places respecting its tenets, understanding that its institutions are absolutely essential and to its functioning, and there is nothing more sacred than this institution, and he is willing to subjugate the institutions of our democracy to his own personal interests, and that has been true from the beginning. This is just the latest and the saddest chapter, and it's increasingly looking like the last one.
I want to add something, Gloria, if you don't mind.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Part of what he said that's so terrible is that he's attacking actual Americans who right now, he said in Detroit they're not letting Republicans in. That's literally not true. It's just not true. Republicans and Democrats are standing shoulder to shoulder in Detroit right now counting those votes. So it's unbelievable the level of lying that he's doing. Putin could not come up with a better attack on our democracy.
Well,
I
couldn't agree with you more.
The President of the United States.
Let me say something that let's just be really blunt about this. Why is he talking about Detroit? Why is he talking about Philadelphia? Yeah. It's not subtle. It's race. It's race. It's Donald Trump's go-to play, and it's disgusting. So I just want to say that.
I appreciate you teeing it up. It's unbelievable that he can say these cities are known for corruption, et cetera, et cetera. There's corruption all across this country, in every institution. Why are you singling out these 2 black cities? Why are you denying the victory that these people have fought for? I'm upset about it because African Americans have fought so hard for the right to vote. I just want to finish. African Americans and our allies have fought so hard for the right. This right to vote for us is precious. John Lewis died this year. This is something we went and we got young African Americans across this country to believe, to buy in, to stand in lines, to do this thing, and have the President of the United States crap all over their efforts. It hurts. And you can say he doesn't mean it to be racial, but it feels racial to us.
It's disgraceful. I've covered politics a really long time, and I've never witnessed anything like this. And again, as you were saying, you're not surprised, but it's still stunning and striking at so many levels. You talk about the issue of race, I totally agree with you. But it's watching a president who is unable to accept loss or potential loss, defeat. Losing is for suckers. Remember that? If he can't accept it, so he has to find a way to undermine the process that has him losing. And the process that has him losing is democracy. How can you do that when you are President of the United States? Again, not surprising, but just shocking and very sad.
The race continues to tighten. 3 crucial states, Georgia, Pennsylvania.
Truly, WTF. It is such deeply reprehensible, catastrophic volition now. Are we going to refresh our memory about the specifics of that? I think for today, we're going to move forward. We know essentially what his claims were, and the basic fact that they have not come through. Nothing that he has said about fraud was true. And yet, shocking boundary violations, devastating to our republic, as noted by everyone sitting there, essentially, everyone who spoke. And not too long after that, let's take a look at a timeline. Because we're at January 3rd now, and 2 years ago, 2 years ago tomorrow, Donald Trump spoke at a Georgia rally, that is tomorrow. Yeah, 2 years ago tomorrow. Trump told supporters, we're going to take what they did to us on November 3rd, we're going to take it back. Of course, in his speech before the riot on January 6th, Trump praised supporters for showing up to, quote, save our democracy. We're going to walk down to the Capitol, you have to show strength and you have to be strong. We just saw a reaction on November 5th to his first really stunning declaration of a rigged election after after it did not go his way, essentially only because it did not go his way. On December 12th, just over 2 years ago, on the day of pro-Trump rallies in Washington, D.C., Trump tweeted, "Wow, thousands of people forming in Washington, D.C. for Stop the Steal. Didn't know about this, but I'll be seeing them." And he also ended hashtag MAGA. On December 12th, he also said, "We have just begun to fight," all caps, 3 exclamation points. Now, these isolated tweets are layered onto the daily Groundhog's Day of someone who has promised proof, not delivering it. The deeply toxic betrayal trauma of someone who is utilizing tactics of manipulation, narcissistic tactics, and utilizing denial, attack, and reversing the victim and offender it means that every day we who depended on Trump as the commander-in-chief, as the one who asked for the job that is to watch over everything and be in charge, to preside. He asked for that job, which is as much like a parent or, of course, leader as anything there is in America. He had presidents. He was the president leading the executive branch. And so if he was not a friend to the United States, or were less a friend to the US than to himself, we would be over a barrel, which is where we all know we were. I think it's good for us to realize that we are not yet over a barrel again. But Donald Trump has told us that we are and that we will be, and that it's as good as already being trapped, already being never having beaten his coup. That we already lost seems to be the message from the Nazis and Nazi collaborators who threaten us. It seems pretty clear that the Nazis at the Heritage Foundation and Project 2025 mean to sow ultimate damage and create a Nazi totalitarian state here. And the new Colossus says no. Absolutely not. But between November 5th and December 6th, there were 2 months of people who were promised proof that they were told was overwhelming proof. Like, he said there was so much fraud. And yet, with the power of the presidency, he could not produce one convincing piece of evidence. Not one. If you think that he pointed to something that was evidence because he said so, and later got mad when a court said that's not evidence, you have some reality distortions, potentially. There can be dereliction of duty anywhere. So there may have been problems anywhere along the line, as is always the case. But people who flout and call sham upon every part of a system or outcome that doesn't favor them are completely untrustworthy. These are people who will not level with you and rather seek to always have the opportunity to level you. They will not bring their scale to sit beside yours and measure a pound to a pound. They will not level their scale with yours. They will never do that unless they have some thumb on the scale or some larger prize, some larger part of you that is their white whale. We are dealing with a dark triad predator. They do not go away, they are fought off, and boundaries of stronger than steel are needed to keep them away. We need to stop not Donald Trump winning, because he has never won. We need to stop Donald Trump conquesting. That is what he means by winning. He is going to steamroll through whatever he decides is his. And the only way for Donald Trump to just go away is for us to actually do the work of removing him now. The greatest generation got busy. The greatest generation fought fascism actually. We need to fight fascism in America nonviolently, if at all possible, because we can do so, and because we have to be aware of how damaged our fabric is, more so than we realize. And that the only hope we have is to tune in to human kindness, which includes the ability for people who have wronged others or profited from wrong to know that it is safe to take steps towards contrition and to show contrition and to be a part of change. Change of institutional, hegemonic malice that sowed genocide and enslavement and slave patrols and Jim Crow and residential schools and the Tuskegee experiments and destroyed black Wall Streets and paved pools and paved parks where racists didn't want white people to be swimming with people of other colors, of other races, so they called. Donald Trump believes in manifest destiny, and let's just put it on the board. That is evil. The poison wool blankets never needed to happen. That was some mass murder, community style, by communities of Jeffrey Dahmer blood-curdling crimes. Yes, humanity moves slowly out of dark ages, but America accelerated and escalated and created a Henry Forded chattel slavery and genocide that amounts to the worst crimes during the lifetime of America. The oppression and harm around fueling that terror, that multi-theater terror. And the diasporatic malice. There's so much more of our colonization and creating coups and destroying democracies and implanting so-called democracies elsewhere, that we have truly shown fascistic sides before, but this is the Nazis of the Heritage Foundation telling us, along with Donald Trump, that Project 2025 just is coming to take us. And we have to recognize the falsehood is telling us he's coming. And we have to actually say no and make that no stick. If need be, we need to use a stick to stop him. The time for saying he wouldn't do that was never. The time for saying Donald Trump didn't mean that never existed. It's time to enter reality where we realize he is not a safe human mind. Dark triad predators do not typically reach an apex of such grandeur of shit blade. He is a blade of white hot shit. He is a blade of ideas made of white hot shit. A human being that has formed a crust around him of distemper, of aggression, of manipulation with hate. He is not a well person. And part of this is about our taking responsibility for creating a monster. Because we're not Donald Trump. Donald Trump is America's monster. Donald Trump is Americanstein. And we'll see that I did it again. Donald Trump is Americanstein's monster. And we are Americanstein. We, Victor Amerigo, need to deal with the fact that we have allowed a vulnerable adult who cannot tell right from wrong to have the keys to the nuclear football. It is batshit insane. We have totally lost it. We have totally lost the script of human family. It's time to recognize that someone who should have been protecting us and who promised to hold the watch defecated on it and tried to crush that oath and that watch into a scepter. He wanted to conquer us, and that hasn't changed. He is coming back saying he did nothing wrong. And if he didn't want to align himself with the insurrectionists, why would he visit them in jail? That in and of itself is a massive supporting, sanctioning effort by him. That is a favor to traitors. That is as close to a pardon as they could hope for without having one. But further than that, he sang with them and let it be recorded. But further than that, he sold that. He sold and made money off of a threat to you and your family and Earth and the entire habitat that humankind is part of. Because after deciding to say on January 6th, sure, I will take the chance to cheat. I've been telling you I would, and I'm doing it. I'm going to take the chance to just break the election. My fraud and lies of telling people that there's fraud and lies and a massive projection that I've been doing for years and years, since at least 2015. Telling people if it's rigged, I'll know because I will have lost. We saw, and just like learning to stop saying he wouldn't do that, we need to realize that we have been watching him saying, he's not doing that. Because, again, how many days does it take to send a copy of a photo through email? How many days does it take if there's overwhelming fraud? If there was even one shred of evidence where the mother falcon crest is it? If he still has it, that is a crime. If Donald Trump has evidence that 2020 was stolen from him, that's a crime for him to hang on to that without showing it to anyone. People have died. And he's been playing the game of I do, I don't. Donald Trump is a game of musical chairs, of non-musical, arrhythmic, shitty chairs. Constantly saying, well, I have immunity based on this, or, well, my deference as a celebrity, this, I don't need to be here, or my presidential status, and, well, really me as a human being, well, really me just because I'm the chosen one, and that really has to do with the fact that I was president, but actually I've always been. He is constantly musical chairing so that he is never the chair of the thing being held to account. And instead of being able to simply apprehend the person who has simply moved a chair, we accept what he says with confidence. Even those of us sometimes who have no confidence in him, because he is good at simply pushing the rhythm along, and because he is accomplished, as other con artists are, at making us feel rushed and panicked and like our chance is running out. And if we don't make some move, we're going to lose it all. Or if we don't make some move, we won't even see the end coming. Donald Trump is a dark triad predator. And Scoop Troop, keep that Darbo card handy, because it may remind you when encountering a falsehood donor like Marjorie Taylor Greene or Carrie Lake or Ron DeSantis or Greg Abbott or Sarah Huckabee Sanders or Tucker Carlson or Elon Musk or Rupert Murdoch. It may help you to remember that such predators will deny and baselessly attack to discredit in order to reverse victim and offender. Darvo. Keep it in mind, Scoop Troop. You've got it. We are dealing with betrayal trauma. And if every single day something we are depending on to know that our country is safe, that has been promised by the president, with more power ostensibly than anyone in the world, and a president who, by the way, told us numerous times that he was the chosen one and was the best president ever, how could that president, while in power, not produce the evidence he said was everywhere? How could a president who said there was fraud everywhere, not produce any evidence of it. There's a nugget here that I'm going to look for that will help us.
Elon Musk is a dropout and a billionaire. After receiving an undergraduate degree from the University of Pennsylvania, he dropped out of the Stanford PhD program in physics. He wound up CEO of PayPal, which eBay bought for $1.5 billion in 2002. With his fortune made in the virtual world, he's created Tesla Motors and SpaceX in the real world. Named for Nikola Tesla, the eccentric Serbian-born inventor of alternating current, Tesla Motors will roll their first 100 all-electric cars out factory.
Do pay attention to what Elon Musk says about the idea that the moon was never landed on. It is instructive to this day.
Doors this summer. SpaceX, one of many new ventures aimed at commercializing outer space, was recently awarded a $278 million NASA contract to build and operate launch vehicles and crew capsules to service the International Space Station and take America back to the moon.
Elon, thank you so much for being with us here at Wired Science.
Well, thank you for having me.
I need to first lay a little bit of a foundation here. 2 days into your physics program at Stanford University, you quit school to start a company called Zip to a media company,
right?
Which you sold a few years later for a paltry $307 million. Then 4 years later, eBay buys PayPal. Is that correct? A company
Yes.
that you established or helped to establish as one of the creators?
With a few others, yeah.
And now you've taken those two enormous successes and you've set your ambition on space. How did you go from online payment systems to building a spaceship, essentially?
Well, when I graduated from college, there were 3 areas that I thought would be most impactful to the future of humanity. The 3 were the internet, space exploration, and then changing the economy from a mine and burn hydrocarbon-based economy to one which is solar electric, which I think is going to be the primary but not exclusive means of energy and transportation.
Have we screwed it up so badly here on this planet that our only hope is to build a new civilization out there?
No, not at all. Actually, I'm quite optimistic about the future of humanity on Earth.
You are?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what is the benefit to humanity then to inhabit Mars, which is really what is an ambition of yours?
Well, I think if you consider 2 paths, one where we're forever confined to Earth and the other where we're a spacefaring civilization out exploring the stars, I think the latter is far more exciting and will result in a richer and more diverse human experience.
How can you do that better than NASA?
Well, NASA is a customer of ours. So there's, I think, a confusion in the public mind that perhaps a company like SpaceX is competing with NASA, but in fact, NASA is a customer of ours. So we're actually providing services to NASA, launch services. And when the shuttle retires in 2010, so starting in 2011, SpaceX's rocket will replace the space shuttle in servicing the space station with astronauts and cargo transportation.
The name of your rocket ship is called the Falcon Explorer, is that it?
Well, the Falcon 9.
The Falcon 9
yeah, is the rocket, and then the spaceship is Dragon.
Dragon.
Yeah, so the Falcon 9 rocket lifts the Dragon spaceship, and this Dragon spaceship is what goes to the space station and then returns to Earth.
So it transports the Falcon as almost cargo, then?
So the Falcon 9 is kind of like the Semi,
okay,
or something like that. And the Falcon 9 booster rocket takes the Dragon spaceship to space and drops it off. Then it goes to the space station, docks with the space station, transfers astronauts or resupply, cargo, whatever the case may be, and then the Dragon spacecraft returns to Earth.
Reading some of the speeches that you have given in your career, and how old you're?
You mean like
you're practically 23 years. You're 23 years old. Is that it?
I'm actually 12.
You're 12.
Yeah.
I was going to say you look terrific, but you have said that we got lost along the way with our space program. What did you mean by that?
Right. I think that was in some of my congressional testimony. I gave a few speeches to Congress. Well, what I mean by that is, in 1969, we were able to go to the moon, and here we are, over 3 decades later, and we can barely get to low Earth orbit. And I think, by any measure, that is a step backwards.
Is that for a lack of leadership or technology?
I think we made the wrong technological choices, and I think there was also a lack of will at the highest levels of government to take the next step and go well, at least stay on the moon and perhaps build a base there, and then go beyond the moon to Mars. And if you look at the news articles in the late 60s, early 70s, the expectation was that by now, in the 21st century, we would have a moon base and probably even a Mars base. And I think if you'd asked anyone at that point in time whether we would be unable to go to the moon and not have been to Mars, I think they would think you're crazy.
Do we need leadership in that realm? Do we need a John F. Kennedy who sets a goal for us when he said one day a man will walk on the moon? Do we need that kind of leadership for this technology to move forward in that big step?
I do think it's very important the president set the priority and determine the goal that we as a nation will aspire to. And George Bush has his pluses and minuses, but at least one plus is that he has helped to steer the space program in a direction that more or less makes sense. The only thing I would sort of argue with is that I don't think we should be going back to the moon. I think we should be focused on Mars. I think we saw
You think that's a mistake, focusing on the moon?
I do think we should rather go. I think we should rather be focused on Mars. The moon is kind of like the Arctic. I mean, it's just a very barren place, and very little resources. It's small. It's not really a place that we could establish another human civilization.
There's a feeling of been there, done that too with the moon.
Yeah, I think we saw that movie in the 60s. And the remake's never as good.
Did we really go to the moon?
Yes,
we did.
We definitely
I
went
just
to the
wanted
moon.
to check.
The government is incapable of suppressing a conspiracy of that nature.
Of that nature. So, okay, good. Did we really go to the moon?
Yes,
we did.
We definitely went
I just
to the
wanted
moon.
to check.
The government is incapable of suppressing a conspiracy of that nature.
Of that nature. So, okay, good.
This ambition to explore space.
Absolutely.
As an entrepreneur, there's quite a bit of competition out there. There's Jeff Bezos with Blue Origin. There's Richard Branson.
Yes,
we did.
We definitely went
I just
to the
wanted
moon.
to check.
The government is incapable of suppressing a conspiracy of that nature.
Of that nature. So,
The government is incapable of suppressing a conspiracy of that nature.
Yes,
we did.
We definitely went
I just
to the
wanted
moon.
to check.
The government is incapable of suppressing a conspiracy of that nature.
Of that nature. So, okay, good.
The government is incapable of suppressing a conspiracy of that nature.
We did.
We definitely
I
went
just
to the
wanted
moon.
to check.
The government is incapable of suppressing a conspiracy of that nature.
Of that nature.
Human civilization.
There's a feeling of been there, done that too with the moon.
Yeah, I think we saw that movie in the 60s. And the remake's never as good.
Did we really go to the moon?
Yes,
we did.
We definitely
I
went
just
to the
wanted
moon.
to check.
The government is incapable of suppressing a conspiracy of that nature.
Of that nature. So, okay. Good.
this ambition to explore space.
The remake's never as good.
Did we really go to the moon?
Yes, yes,
We did.
We definitely
Okay, I
went
just
to the
wanted to
moon.
check.
The government is incapable of suppressing a conspiracy of that nature.
Of that nature.
The government is incapable of suppressing a conspiracy of that nature. Too many people, too much to do, too many things to go wrong, and too many lies to remember how to tell wrong in the right way.
And I think by any measure, that is a step backwards.
Is that for a lack of leadership? Move forward in that big step?
I do think it's very important the president set. Yes,
we did.
We definitely
okay, I
went
just
to the
wanted
moon.
to check.
The government is incapable of suppressing a conspiracy of that nature.
Of that nature. So, okay, good.
Okay, good. So, what kinds of conspiracies does that cover? Would that not cover the phantom of a felt massive fraud that's pervasive, so pervasive that the then President Donald Trump told us on November 5th, 2020 that the election was rigged and he had proof, that within a week or two he and Rudy Giuliani were saying they were sending the proof they had, that he and Rudy promised human beings who were in charge, promised to send data that would save our republic from potential iceberg calamity that Donald Trump had started us on a course for before the 2016 election. I wonder what I mean. What could I possibly mean by Donald Trump set us up for that? What could I possibly mean? What in the world could I possibly mean? Let's find out. Here at the mystery font, restoring executive function is largely about intuition and self-regulation, the ability to calm oneself and to believe and listen, at least a little more, to the voice in us that is partly ready from time to time with a readout, a solution that we have put into our calculator. And we should get better at listening for the ding, because our mind will let us know when we need to come back and sit in front of our deep inner screen of knowledge to listen to ourselves. What was Donald Trump saying What was Donald Trump saying about whether or not he would leave when asked? What was Donald Trump always saying? What do you already know you're about to hear, most likely?
You have been warning at rallies recently that this election is rigged and that Hillary Clinton is in the process of trying to steal it from you. Your running mate, Governor Pence, pledged on Sunday that he and you, his words, will absolutely accept the result of this election. Today, your daughter Ivanka said the same thing. I want to ask you here on the stage tonight, do you make the same commitment that you will absolutely, sir, that you will absolutely accept the result of this election?
I will look at it at the time. I'm not looking at anything now. I'll look at it at the time. What I've seen is so bad. First of all, the media is so dishonest and so corrupt, and the pile-on is so amazing. The New York Times actually wrote an article about it that they don't even care. It's so dishonest, and they've poisoned the minds of the voters. But unfortunately for them, I think the voters are seeing through it. I think they're going to see through it. We'll find out on November 8th, but I think they're going to see through it.
But, sir, there's
if you look, excuse me, Chris, if you look at your voter rolls, you will see millions of people that are registered to vote. Millions. This isn't coming from me. This is coming from Pew Report and other places. Millions of people that are registered to vote that shouldn't be registered to vote. So let me just give you one other thing. So I talk about the corrupt media. I talk about the millions of people. Tell you one other thing. She shouldn't be allowed to run. She's guilty of a very, very serious crime. She should not be allowed to run. And just in that respect, I say it's rigged. Because she should never, Chris, she should never have been allowed to run for the presidency based on what she did with emails and so many other things.
But, sir,
Let's pause right there. Donald, that makes your candidacy proof that the 2024 election, as it stands, is rigged. The logic you just spat like feces from your asshole is false. Or you already know you shouldn't be running. You already know that you are doing things that are wrong. That's just one glaring example. If anything means anything, Donald Trump just tanked his 2024 candidacy. He just tanked the rest of any political career he has any aspirations for with what he just said here in 2016. There is no way that the documents that Hillary Clinton dealt with in some improper ways, and some of them which are not accounted for and such, to my knowledge, there is nothing proportional about her handling of documents and Donald Trump stealing documents from double safe rooms that they're never supposed to leave. No one, not even Colonel Jessup, gets to take those documents anywhere, and he can handle the truth. No one, because people understand that there's burly men on a wall, right, Colonel Jessup, telling us we can't handle the truth. There's a man on a wall somewhere, and those documents are going to save somebody's life or save our republic, kid. And you can't handle the truth. Clearly, Donald Trump, at every turn, is simply using the machete of his mind that has no conscience whatsoever to hack through as many of us as he can. He is going for breaking Hitler's record. And it is arguable that he is responsible more than anyone else for over 1 million deaths due to COVID in this country. Because as the person who is supposed to be able to handle the truth, as the one who presides over the executive branch, to be the one who takes a report about an incoming contagion or an iceberg of AI and deepfakes and CGI that will potentially break our ability to understand media or trust it. That someone hearing that these kinds of things are coming would talk to us about how we build trust and know that even when we don't understand or figure out and get ready for creating ways to make it through that fog. But just like with COVID, and just like with anything else, Donald Trump doesn't want to cause a panic. Yet. Not until it is most destructive and coercive and surprising and shocking and violating. Such that his hand is now on our crotch, which he is duly telling us. It's very kind of him to let us know that he's already declassified our crotch years ago. He is not sane. He is not safe, and he is not safe to be around. And so there's no way on earth that we should let this one-time soup-pooping chef tell us he's coming back to take his soup chef job again. Since he told us that he didn't do it, but if he did, we liked it. And he actually heard some great comments about that soup, but he didn't do that. But if he did, the people loved it. And he didn't do anything wrong. And he's coming back. And the restaurant's going to be so full, we'll never believe it how full. It's going to be so full, and it'll be like, we'll just be floating in soup. There'll be all kinds of wonderful things suspended in the soup, and it'll keep us in suspense about what those wonderful things suspended will be. I mean, he could make those things our bodies, and he wouldn't lose any voters, he'll tell us. He could suspend us forever and not lose any of us, he'll tell us. We're the one and only, he'll tell us. Who is the falsehood? Let's find out.
There is a tradition in this country, in fact, one of the prides of this country is the peaceful transition of power, and that no matter how hard fought a campaign is, that at the end of the campaign, that the loser concedes to the winner, not saying that you're necessarily going to be the loser or the winner, but that the loser concedes to the winner and that the country comes together in part for the good of the country. Are you saying you're not prepared now to commit to that principle?
What I'm saying is that I will tell you at the time. I'll keep you in suspense.
Well,
okay?
Chris, let me respond to that, because that
the total insanity of Chris Matthews not stopping this debate and asking Donald Trump, Mr. Trump, is that your final answer? There had to have been some kind of protocol. The Secret Service apparently wasn't ready. Secretaries of State and others apparently weren't ready to say, oh no, of course not. Of course he's by no means qualified to run for office. There's ample reason. In fact, he's already been suggested for lists by the Secret Service before to not be allowed into the room where the president is, ever. To never, ever, ever be the security risk that he is in the same room as the first family. I don't buy that such a list was not scrubbed of his name. What we just heard him say was not a joke. The look on his face does not tell us he means it a little. That was a mortal, existential, violent, murderous threat. And it's time for us to wake up. It's time for us to wake up. There was never a time when Donald Trump there was never a time when Donald Trump there was never a time when Donald Trump was a safe choice for president. There's never, ever been a time. There was never a time when it was safe to say that Donald Trump wouldn't do that. There was never a safe time to say that Donald Trump wouldn't do that. There was never a time when it was safe to say that Donald Trump wouldn't say that, wouldn't do that. There was never a time when it was safe to say, Donald Trump wouldn't do that. There has never been a time when that was safe. He is not dependable. He has never, ever, ever been dependable. We know that, right? We know that in fact, he is utterly undependable. There's essentially nothing we can trust. There is nothing about him that we can trust. He has executive dysfunction. And we are all in an abusive relationship with the falsehood. It has never been a safe time to say that Donald Trump wouldn't do that. He only wants to be dictator on day one. He only wants to be a rapist on day one. He only wants to commit mass murder on day one. Come on. I mean, it's like it's just a joke. I mean, it's funny. It's so clear how much this is not a big deal. This insanity threatens all of us, and Donald Trump remains at large. We are experiencing betrayal trauma, and that makes it quite hard to see that we are dealing with the falsehood. It is time to recognize now. It is time for us to actually look at what we have been doing and what we have allowed to happen. If we don't look at this and understand it, soon it will be too late to rescue the new millions of dead. It will be too late to rebuild the Statue of Liberty. It will be too late to rebuild the White House from a burned cinder. It will be too late to remove the radiation from the Grand Canyon. The attacks and vandalism and catastrophes that Trump will cause are exactly the kind of malice he aimed at Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss. There is no way on earth that Donald Trump has an ounce of honor. There is no Mother Falcon way. There is no Mother Falcon crest way. He is a dark triad predator. And I'm asking you to look at his face. Look at the face of this man who just said that he's threatening America's life. that he's going to kill democracy. That if it shows up that he lost, he'll know it was rigged. He doesn't look the least bit full of entitlement, right? He doesn't look the least bit pissed off about something that hasn't even been taken from him, right? He doesn't look the least bit full of shit. He doesn't look the least bit angry as hell about nothing. He doesn't look the least bit corrupt as hell. What kind of mendacity lurks in the hearts of mendacity? Betrayal trauma, concentration camps, and Project 2025 and Agenda 47. We are looking at a dark triad predator who literally on this footage just threatened America's survival. And Chris Matthews should have had a trapdoor. He should have asked, "Is that your final answer?" And when Trump said yes, I'll tell you at the time, we should have said, Chris Matthews should have said, "Well, you're done then. Thank you, but unfortunately, as a candidate, you have been fired." No one threatens the United States with a suspension of the normal processes of counting votes and of a peaceful transfer of power. You cad. You may now leave the stage under your own power. You have 2 minutes. That is what should have happened. He should have been told to leave the stage, and if he didn't, he should have been physically removed. And if necessary, he should have been beaten to move from the stage. Pardon me, perhaps not beaten. Let's pull that back. I would say that physical force should have been used. Physical force should have been used. If he did not leave the stage within 2 minutes, physical force should have been used to remove him forever, at once, from every and any stage of power. Because he is a vulnerable, sick, and deeply ignorant individual, but certainly a danger to himself and others. Is money and willingness for corruption that others can ride the coattails of so precious that it literally means, if we think a new Hitler will take us where we want to go, that we just get a ride, though? Someone who does not know right from wrong and leverages malicious contempt to degrade people, someone who has separated families, intentionally losing the ability to reconnect them, which in and of itself is a human rights atrocity and an aspect of genocide. There is no planet on which Donald Trump is remotely qualified to run a McDonald's. He is a batshit, evil, dark triad predator. It is not fun to use this tone or language or to visit these kinds of meanings, but this is fact. And the new Colossus must wake, or we will squander democracy. We must wake because everyone is acting like submission has already had its take. That is the move Donald and the Heritage Foundation and Stephen Miller and Steve Bannon and the pathetic Charlie Kirk circle jerk of Project 2025 and the Agenda 47 bullshit, these concentration camps they plan, these mass murders that these Nazis are planning must be crushed. It is time to take them off the playing field. People who are showing up for meetings for Agenda 47 should be shown an option of healthcare and deprogramming voluntarily, or move to the next level of involuntary renovation. We are not going to allow the new Colossus to be completely looted. Soon enough, we will recognize that Donald Trump and his Nazis have already done such significant damage that we will be for generations just recovering. But Nazis don't go away unless you make them. Project 2025 is not going away unless you participate in showing it the door. And that is a promise. Dark Triad predators and their minions go for breaking Hitler's record every time. We don't have many examples of it because it's not happened before. The unprecedented charges of any president are dwarfed by the unprecedented crimes. Not one of the charges yet leveled actually reaches the top of any of the crimes it assails. We will never be able to hold him accountable for all the people he's already murdered. Donald Trump is a murderer. Donald Trump has tried to kill Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss. Donald Trump has tried to kill members of the FBI. Donald Trump is a murderer. Donald J. Trump is a murderer. And the news is Donald Trump remains at large. He said, "I will keep you in suspense." And that should have been the end. But Chris Matthews shat the bed and failed America. That was an abject failure of the Fourth Estate in the hands of Chris Matthews and, was it Fox News? Who was running this? Wow, this is really... How do you not say no? Why in the world did you not say no, Chris Matthews? What the hell happened to your mind? What the hell happened to the notes you had written down that should have given you some scrap of a direction to go when he answered the question exactly the way we knew he would? Are you a journalist, or were you ever a journalist? If you couldn't, in that moment, pull a trapdoor, if you couldn't in that moment stand up to him and say no, no, you won't. I'll give you one more chance to answer that before we remove you from the stage forever. How could you not say no, Mr. Trump? You have one last chance to remain a candidate. Is that your final answer? I mean, really, we shouldn't have even allowed him that. Because someone who has been stochastically terrorizing should get one chance to show up at the table of human family in a situation like that, because all of us saying, no, he wouldn't, no, he didn't, no, he wouldn't say that, ignoring the fact that there has never been a time when it's safe to say Donald Trump wouldn't do that. How in creation Chris Matthews and media, how in the world were you more interested in keeping your job and not rocking the boat than reporting the news and holding your standard up where it belongs to protect America? How dare you? How dare you be so frivolous and such a flibberty-gibbet? This was a massive mistake. This was a catastrophic mistake. It's wrong to park it at Chris Matthews' door. It's wrong to park it there forevermore. It is everyone's lapse. And Chris Matthews was at the controls, was at the mic, was leading, facilitating this debate. And I have to say, it seems more like he was prepared to fail to follow that question. It seems more like he was prepared to take no for an answer. It seems more like he was prepared to evade the retribution of Donald Trump than to do his duty, not his job, not get through his meeting and do a good job and, oh, well, look at him, to do his duty. Whether or not that's meant to rock the boat or to rock the boat of someone who believes he's the chosen one, who believes that his voice can kill you with one blow. We are dealing with a dark triad predator. And someone as intelligent and cogent and committed as it seems Chris Matthews is, coming up against a dark triad predator of the ridiculous and diabolical dark potency of Donald Trump shows how intense it is to weather that kind of contemptuous dark triad predator's presence. It is confusing, it is caustic, and it is terrifying. If not, we would have said no to Trump before this day in 2016. If not, before now. And if not, on this night. I don't know if it keeps Chris Matthews up nights, but let it go, because It's Donald Trump, though. He is a dark triad predator. He is a Jeffrey Dahmer level murderer. He is a vile, troubled person, and he is a human being who probably doesn't want to be a monster. And if only because our safety is more important than whatever story is going on with him, we're going to take care of all of us in part by taking care of him. It's our responsibility to deal with the monster we built. It's not a movie. It's not a movie. It's not a movie. This is not a movie. This is not a movie. It is time to wake up. It is time to wake up. Even though Elon Musk and other Andrew Tate wannabes even though more and more dark triad predators are finding their way into positions of power lately through the MAGA movement, we will root out those lynch mob brain terrorists, these white fire Ku Klux Klan sleepers for the Confederacy, including Clarence Thomas and Jenny Thomas. We will remove them, hopefully in time, if not only by waiting out, because there clearly is corruption there. But we're not storming a Capitol to do so, because we're not buckled to the insanity of a madman. We are not under a falsehood. We are not sweltering under the threat of the vindication and venom and the retribution of someone telling us he will be our retribution. That's called a predator. It's time to move on. It was December 19th that Trump tweeted his praise for a report by his advisor Peter Navarro alleging election fraud. Donald Trump tweeted, "A great report by Peter. Statistically impossible to have lost the 2020 election. Big protest in D.C. on January 6th. Be there, will be wild." That's less than a month. It's almost 2 weeks away from the January 6th insurrection led by traitor Donald Trump. On the 26th, he tweeted that the Justice Department and FBI have done nothing about presidential election voter fraud, the biggest scam in our nation's history. Totally false, of course. Despite overwhelming evidence, totally false. They should be ashamed. History will remember, never give up. See everyone in D.C. on January 6th. Now, that is a month and a half, that's 7 weeks after he said that he had proof. And again, this is day after day of him never, ever, ever producing it. You must pay the rent. I can't pay the rent. Curses foiled again. You must pay the rent. I can't pay the rent. Curses foiled again. You must pay the rent. I can't pay the rent. Curses foiled again. Day after day after day. And he cannot produce a single shred. 61 cases. All nothing. Nothing that would ever change the results of the election. Such small numbers. And essentially, most all of the fraud that was ever found was fraud conducted by Trump. That every day he continues to fail. to send proof that he says is there. That is how someone who has made people submit gets them to do the work of repairing reality distortion field, issues on his behalf themselves. That anyone who believed him and continued to be expecting that proof every day and it not showing up, and gosh, well, no, I guess it's something where there's baby's blood and it can't happen and they won't let him show. He had the most powerful job in the world and he couldn't produce proof. So he's saying on December 26th, this is almost 2 months after the election, he's saying that the Justice Department and FBI have done nothing about election voter fraud, despite overwhelming evidence. Wouldn't that be the fraud that Donald Trump claimed to know all about and had promised evidence of? This is an interesting, really dumbass attempt that a lot of people fall for if they don't want to look behind the curtain, if they've already submitted, if they've already been broken and potentially abused and harmed and crushed by Donald Trump, if they've been hurt or will believe no matter what, so they're already submitted, then the crowd of people who will believe whatever he says just grows. And the bigger and weirder the thing he makes you believe, the more difficult it is for you to access being present to your own mind and the shame of letting someone break you. That he has utilized embarrassing, huge lies that people believe to indoctrinate people into this cult, into this death cult. It's pretty insane that someone who said that they have evidence and is the president couldn't do a single thing about it himself. Like actually share evidence with the FBI or the Justice Department that they said, oh yeah, that napkin that you wrote your thought on, actually you did get some data down here on the bottom when you were writing that number you saw flashing, that was a phone call coming in. We needed that phone number. It happens that you wrote something that helped, sir. But this other stuff you're writing about, I just know that it was wrong, and they stole it. Stop the steal. There were already apparently so many people who were unbuckled from any kind of interrogation of what he said that he could pretty much say anything. That he could tell people that they were made of tennis ball meat. And that if they just, tried to blow a bubble with their torso, little bubbles of floating tennis balls, little tennis bubbles. New Trump tennis bubbles. That it's called tweeting, that he trumps these tennis bubbles. That this is essentially the kind of batshit detachment. It's just, I'm not attaching it to anything terroristic. Trying to draw out something nonsensical, impossible, and ridiculous on the level that Trump would have people pledge belief to. Like I pledge belief to pizza places that are somehow involved in a massive conspiracy that is far too large and weird and horrific for anyone to actually contain. So if there was actually not a way to see him coming, if for some reason his actual literal threat saying, I'll tell you at the time, I will keep you in suspense, I'm a bit more upset now as well that I think it was Chris Matthews was not able, it wasn't Chris Matthews, it was someone else. Well, to have Trump, maybe it was Chris. Later, of course, in the 2020 election cycle, Trump was asked to disavow the Proud Boys, and they let him call them to order. This kind of insanity is exactly why I am certain Trump was removed from lists of people to not be allowed into the president's suite or into, spaces, into events, small events with the first family. I have to believe that the Secret Service, at some point, that loyal Secret Service members advised that he is not safe and unqualified to be someone running for president. But we know now, because he, in 2016, he said, I will keep you in suspense. And in 2020, he did. He kept us in suspense. And him telling us that it wasn't a big deal is a big deal. And the entire thing was a big deal. That hasn't happened before. No one has ever attacked the United States from the presidency before. That's what he did. He broke his oath and tried to steal the watch, to take away, and revealed in that moment that he was never loyal, that he was just biding his time, because why else would someone be so ruthless as to not care that people were dosing themselves with COVID when he said, oh, it's just going to go away, it's going to burn up in the air? He murdered over 1 million people. If by incompetence or by volition, we may never know, but really anywhere on the spectrum from total incompetence and being terrible at the job, all the way to being volitional, as in intentionally terrible and doing terrible things, utilizing the power and the job and its deference. Nowhere on that continuum is there a safe space from prosecution. He is certainly not qualified to run heavy machinery or to be anyone's boss ever again. He is a bad human being. Donald Trump is acting as a truly bad human being. How can someone not level with anybody? How can someone who is telling us he is going to be president again be not just belligerent, but failing to level with people and establish common language and good faith communication? He is an antagonist. Donald Trump is an antagonist against the United States. And Donald Trump remains at large. So, Scoop Troop, these are dark moments we're going over here. And let's see, we do need to get some sleep here pretty soon. But then we'll be getting up later in the day to do more. We're looking at what happened a year ago, 2 years ago. So on January 3rd, that's today, 2 years ago, Trump retweeted Jen Lawrence, 21, an organizer of a March for Trump bus tour. Let's just we pull this up, maybe. Let's see if we can do this. Let's do it. January 3rd, Trump retweeted Amy Kramer, another promoter, Amy Kramer, another promoter of the march, who said, "We are excited." Okay, let's get back here. We missed one. Let's go back. Okay. So on the 3rd, Trump retweeted Jen Lawrence at Jen Lawrence 21, an organizer of a March for Trump bus tour. "Now we will bring it to DC on January 6th and proudly stand beside you." Also on January 3rd, 2 years ago today, Trump retweeted Amy Kramer, another promoter of the march, who said, "We are excited to announce the site of our January 6th event will be the Ellipse in the President's Park, just steps from the White House." Also on January 3rd, today, 2 years ago, Trump retweeted Code Monkeys, "If you are planning to attend peaceful protests in DC on the 6th, I recommend wearing a body camera. The more video angles of that day, the better." And we are just a few days away from what 2 years ago was the date of insurrection by Donald Trump and his MAGA Nazi party. At a rally in Georgia on January 4th, and that would be tomorrow, just 2 years ago is tomorrow, at a rally in Georgia the day before the Senate runoffs, Trump repeated his grievances about his own election. He spoke about a continued fight, both for himself and the Senate. If the liberal Democrats take the Senate and the White House, and they're not taking this White House, we're going to fight like hell, I'll tell you right now, Trump said. We're going to take it back, Trump said. What did he say before the riot? Trump's final direction to supporters came during his Save America. Trump's final direction to supporters came during his Save America rally around noon, January 6th, when he repeated his pants on fire claim that he won. We know now that he knew for a fact that he lost. So what kind of man would do this? We are dealing with a corrupt, criminal, dark triad predator. He is a murderer, and he is a ne'er-do-well. So, I think, considering that this is a good time to think about getting sleep soon, to recharge, and that we've gone through basically up to today of some points of context and tweets and communications ahead of January 6th. There's much more to look at, but for now, I feel like we are seeing that it's easy to forget just how shocking and crushing and world-altering for the worse that each of these shocking, degrading, violating attacks, these shocking boundary violations, how awful they are. We are in an abusive relationship with Donald Trump. We are not recognizing that, but we are in an abusive relationship with him. It's not fair for a malicious dark triad predator to have us over a barrel. And we must recognize it is our responsibility to come out of this. It is our responsibility to apprehend the falsehood. The news remains that Donald Trump remains at large. Content here is created entirely by the mystery font. No artificial intelligence created graphics, no artificial intelligence has been used in writing or in creating visuals, including these computer graphics. These, in fact, are using organic, practical images in compositing. So nothing that you're seeing is made up. In its physical forms filmed, it has actually been real and pulled in as part of the mystery font. That something like the form of hokum that you are seeing undulating in front of you was built physically. And then those multiple pieces were stitched together. So there's computer compositing, and I am not utilizing, for the creation of my work, AI. I think that the Donald Trump, the hate stinks graphic would be one exception, in that the figure of Donald Trump, I imagine, the person might have used AI to create that image that I composited with other things. But in any case, this also may be just compositing itself, but the nature of it made me consider that this might be an exception to the rule, or to the habit that I refrain from the use of artificial intelligence. This is the mindedness at the mystery font, and frankly, allow me to mention, you are the renovation of love's imagination, and we are going to defeat the forces of hate. We are going to help people compromised by intolerance, whether in them or outside of them, because we tolerate everything but intolerance. Radio, science, brain. Here is a recent new backing track recording of Radio Science Brain, and the performance, the freestyle performance that was performed when that backing track was created. I'm sure I'll use that music again as a backing track, but in this case, I went ahead and made a recording right away, and that that is here.
Sentient freight carry it. If we are not woke, let's wake. If we don't wake, we'll break. Came to play today for your sake. Pretend that kindness came and stayed to make. Remain the kindness you became when you came to play. Maybe game, maybe prey to predator today. Unless we are playing This is the mindness, may this contain an activating aid be named. Radio science brain. We won't be known, maybe by fame, by name, but we'll be known. Radio science brain. You are the mindness you lead. Imagination. Contain this contagious container from pain. Radio science brain liaise come came to play today. Remain always the agent of change, mind made the same into aid, radio science brain.
This is the mindness at the Mystery Font. It is Tim Cameron. I'm the host here. Not sure if I will be the host forever, but probably for many, many decades, I would think. I'd think that probably it could be centuries here. We'll see. We'll see how it goes, because there really is a great deal of tranquility, and I should let you know, it's fun. It's fun.
You are the revelation of love's imagination. Awaken everyone. Gaze on a maze on activate Tron. Lemon a radiac like it's in your backpack. You are the science clarion aim. Activate. Activate the activating agent of change. Imagination mediates the campaign of love's name and love's gaze. The lens love uses can make phrases, sentient sentences that meant the mention we meant then when we came to play. Name radio science brain. Contain this aching agilent clarion update, building the new substrate, substrate re-update, relieve this major Time and place need not be separated. Always be nature, your creature. What feature in its free space might make this ace, this activating ace of imagination play. We can make play all day and we love lemons, but we can make other things into ways today. This is the mindless mode. This contain an active agent against pain that is unnecessary to the frame. Punishment not needed is generational trauma seeded. But see that we now no longer need seed those violent deeds into new minds and new lives to lead. Imagination sees a paradigm with punishment finding entropy. We need data from pain and some boundaries might punish sometimes in ways that are not anti-human, but we are the sentient frame, and punishment is our main addiction. It is killing us. That we're still here does not mean we're more than barely surviving our self-terrorist lust. Imagination must contain an awakening today. Perpendicular trains, parallel against hate, parallel against pain. I liaise in the Statue of Liberty's cranium, or at the mystery farm 42 anyways. Particularly, I'm a spectacular reader. I'm a I'm a new kind of wheel that's a helicopter in 4 dimensions of beaters. Or beads on the prizes. All the unlies. Is this true? Is fact not dead in the future times? Maybe we are the rescue of fact and truth become today, became that you started somewhere is someone that you go into is the you that you now know you'll become. Radio science brain, become your true someone. It seems the mindness had plenty of something or other to give and sift and gift. I think maybe we actually can wake wax from wane. We may find that the above unity devices we believe are impossible to create are us.